Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Eardley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Hello there and welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan. My name's Catherine Eardley. I'm your host as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club. The Resilient Retail Club is my membership for creative product businesses. You can find out more at resilientretailclub.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast or while you're listening to this podcast, why not follow me on Instagram at Resilient Retail Club and tag me where you're listening. I would love to see. Please also, while you're listening, why not take a minute to review the episode? It's always so fantastic for me to get ratings and reviews. Just takes a minute or two and it helps so much when it comes to other people finding the podcast. Also, if you're listening to this in early October, you'll have seen my new branding. I'm very excited about this. So now I am officially the Resilient Retail Club as opposed to Future Retail Consulting. So if you're looking for Future Retail UK, then that sadly no longer exists, but it's all about the Resilient Retail Club. So on to today's episode. In mid-September, I ran the Resilient Retail Online Summit, which was all about getting ready for Christmas. We had 10 sessions across 2 days, and we heard from some absolutely fantastic experts on topics from influencer marketing to email marketing to PR, wholesale, social media, emails, the list goes on and on. If you're a member of the club, then you can get access to the full replay. It's all within the course portal. But in case you missed it, or even if you came along and listened and took part, then I wanted to just share some of my key takeaways about getting ready for Christmas. So there are 9 key takeaways that I took from the 10 sessions. And as I said, it was just such an incredible amount of expertise that was shared over those 2 days. I know that when you're listening to so much great content, it's really fantastic, but it can feel a bit overwhelming. So I wanted to take that moment to kind of step back a little bit and think about some of the common themes and things that came up, because there were definitely some crossovers between the sessions, whether we were talking about visibility or whether we were talking about influencers or whether we were talking about pop-ups. These are all things that, even though they sound like very different topics, there were some really key common themes that were coming up, which is what I want to touch on right now. So, key takeaway number 1, opportunities are there for the taking. So obviously this has been a crazy year and a lot of people have concerns about Christmas, not sure how it's going to go, not sure if people are going to be buying. But one thing to really take away from the summit is to think about the language that you're using when you talk about Christmas. Are you saying to yourself, oh, nobody's going to be buying, nobody's got any money? If you talk to yourself like that, then the chances are it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The key thing really here is that although, yes, overall spending will be down, people are still definitely looking for Christmas ideas, for Christmas gifts for loved ones. And everything that we've seen from Google Trend searches to Pinterest searches is all pointing to the fact that the customer is actually geared up and gearing up ready for Christmas earlier than ever. But that brings me on to key point number 2, which is think gifting. Now, obviously at Christmas time, gifting is a hugely important part of the reason that people spend money. It's a huge trigger for spending. That's not going to change this year, but what's going to happen is that if anything, this is going to become even more heightened because the likelihood is people won't be able to spend as much money on socializing, parties, going out. What they will be doing, though, is thinking about ways that they can connect with loved ones that potentially they're not even going to be able to go and see. Most people, or many people, travel at Christmas or would normally travel to see some relatives, or there would be just generally a lot more movement around the country. However, given the situation, we don't know that that's going to be possible. One of the things that happened during lockdown was a huge spike in the amount of gifting that went on directly to the customer. So people were placing orders for gifts that they wanted sending to their loved ones that they couldn't go and see. Normally you'd pop over and have a cup of tea or share a glass of wine, but this wasn't an option during lockdown, and we just simply don't know what the situation's going to be at Christmas. So if you have got gifting options, make sure that they are really, really clear on your website, that it's the first thing the customer sees when they land on your webpage, that you can send directly to somebody, that you can write a note and all the rest of it, because this is going to be such an important motivating factor this Christmas. If you didn't catch Jade's amazing session, then she shared some absolute gems. Jade runs a company called Made to Send. They are a gifting company. She's a gifting expert. And some of the ways that she talks about creating these gift ideas for your customers were absolutely priceless. So key takeaway number 3 was that people want to hear your stories. This message came across really loud and clear from Rosie Davis-Smith when she was talking about PR, from Therese when she was talking about wholesale. There are so many times from Charlotte Jacqueline when she was talking about influencers. People want stories that they can share. They want to be able to tell the people that they're gifting about the products that they're giving them. Or if they are a stockist, they want to be able to share with their customers the story behind it. The press want to feature independent businesses. They're calling out specifically looking for independent businesses with interesting stories. So your story is hugely, hugely valuable at Christmas. If you're not sure about brand stories, again, within the club, there are courses. Within the courses, Start Your Business and Grow Your Sales, there's an opportunity for you to explore what your brand stories are. But just think about, what are your origin story? Why did you start the business? What are the stories behind the products? Your story is almost as important as the product itself, because the way that the customer is buying is that they want something that has meaning. They want something that they can really engage with. They want to buy from businesses that share their values and their beliefs. And if they don't know what your values and beliefs are, and they don't know what your brand story is, then quite frankly, they can't make that decision to buy from you. So whatever you're doing, when you're showing up on social media, writing your web copy, writing your emails at Christmas, then think about how you can share that story and think of it as a gift that somebody can give along with the physical item. So for example, if you make candles and you source only the highest quality essential oils, and you can give a whole description about how you came across these oils and how you chose them and what the purpose is behind them, then that allows the gift giver to then relay that story to the person they're giving it to. And it just elevates the whole experience and makes it something more than just a gift, makes it into an experience, really, as well as a physical item. Okay, so point number 4 is get visible. Elizabeth Stiles kicked us off for the first session of the 2-day summit, and she had me in absolute stitches talking about her idea about if you are not visible in your business, so you put up all these lovely images, but then you don't show your face, then it's like having a beautiful shop where the window looks amazing, but when you walk in, you find that the shopkeeper is hiding behind the counter and doesn't want to come out and talk to you. So if you can really embrace the idea that there are opportunities out there, that people will be wanting to spend money to send gifts to their loved ones, that they want to hear your stories, then that all really feeds into this idea that you have to be visible. You also have to take responsibility for driving your own business forward. You have to show up. You have to show up some more. As we like to say, show up till you throw up. You have to just be very visible and in front of your customer. Otherwise, you can't expect your customer to notice you. Now, obviously, that can be tricky when you're in the midst of getting ready for Christmas, or actually dealing with the kind of logistical issues of Christmas, the practicalities, making sure that you're busy fulfilling your orders and making sure that you're surprising and delighting your customer. So that brings me on to point number 5. So whatever you can do now do it now. So Joanne Griffin from Arnold and Bird, she had a great session about getting ready for Christmas. And her points were thinking this exact thing, like, what can you do now? Could you pre-write your emails? Could you pre-schedule some of your social media? Could you do your Christmas shopping now so that later on you are not rushing around the shops or rushing around the internet trying to get your own Christmas shopping done when you're in the middle of trying to show up for your own business? So kind of points number 4 and 5 go hand in hand. Number 4, you've got to be visible. You have to take responsibility. You are the only person who's going to drive your business forward. So you have to be committed to it, but also at the same time, believe that this is something that your customer wants. Elizabeth had another great point about thinking about selling is service. So if you think about it as offering a solution to somebody's problem, whether that's something as simple as they need an amazing gift for a loved one that they haven't been able to see this year, as opposed to thinking about it as being sleazy selling, then you'll get a lot further. And then point number 5 really goes hand in hand with that, to allow you to show up, to allow yourself to be visible during this crucial selling period. You have to do whatever you can right now to get yourself prepared. Whether that is, as we said, getting emails pre-written or just even finding the help that you need right now, training up the people that might be needed to help you right now, as opposed to waiting until the very last minute and then suddenly panicking because you can't physically fulfill all the orders. So point number 6, this is one which is really interesting. This came out from both Janet Organa's amazing talk about pop-ups and also Sakina Saidi, who talked to us about being at markets and using those and Instagram to create fantastic collaborations. This point is you never know who is watching. Sounds a bit sinister, really, but it's not meant to be. The idea is that, especially if you're at an event, obviously physical events are sort of up in the air right now. There's a lot that have been cancelled. There are still some going ahead. There is definitely some anecdotal evidence that the ones that are going ahead are being quite well attended. So people are spending, they do have money. But it is kind of still a question mark, even with pop-ups, as well as big events, fairs, shows, that kind of thing. But the key point here is, and it can go for online as well, is you just simply don't know who is watching. So go ahead, put yourself out there, share your passion, share your stories. Janet Organa, for example, was approached by the person who runs the WOW Festival for the South Bank, which led to an amazing opportunity for her to curate their online marketplace earlier this year. Sakina Saidi has secured illustration work and collaborations simply by being open and friendly to everybody who came along to her business. And then this led on to so many other opportunities. So it is really important, especially at Christmas. There are more eyes on your business at Christmas than at any other time. So just put yourself out there, be open to what could happen, and just be aware that if you are going to be at a physical event, then every minute counts. Somebody put into the comments, which I think is a great tip, is always be the last person to pack up, because when those last minute people come around and they're looking for someone to chat to, then you'll be there. So make the most of every opportunity that you have, whether it's online or offline, and be open to some pleasant surprises. Point number 7 then. This is something that also came out of Janet's talk, which was frankly fantastic. And Janine Hardy from Connected Inspired touched on this as well when she was talking about social media marketing. But whatever your marketing plan is, then double it. This is just a real nod, going back to also what Elizabeth was saying about being visible, is that there's almost you just simply can't be too visible at Christmas time. So the chances are, if you have got a plan for your marketing, for your social media, the chances are that you want to actually go ahead and think, well, do I need to double it? Do I need to do twice as much? If you're thinking that one post every 3 days is going to be enough, is it really going to be enough during the peak selling period? If you're thinking that one email in the month of November and one in the month of December is enough, is that really going to be enough to talk to your customer at this peak time of year? It does get noisy, it does get loud. It's certainly the time that the customer is the most bombarded with selling messages. But just think about, you've got to show up as well. And chances are, it's a very English thing to worry, or a very British thing to worry about being too pushy. But actually, really at Christmas time, people are expecting to be sold to. They're also hugely, hugely time poor. So if you get out there and you give them the information that they need to make a purchase, then that is the best situation that you can be in. You want to just give them everything that they need to make that buying decision, as opposed to making them work for it or making them go around the houses. Point number 8, know your customer. This came up a lot as well. This came up, almost everybody talked about this in some form. Janine certainly talked about it for social media. Jade talked about it when coming up with the ideal Christmas gift. Iman talked about it when looking at your email marketing. Therese certainly talks about knowing your customer and knowing when you're finding the right stockists. Charlotte talked about it when it came to looking for the right influencers to work with for your brand. Janet certainly referenced it when she was talking about finding the perfect pop-up or the perfect physical space for your brand. So whatever you're doing at Christmas, make sure you know who your customer is, because it just simply informs every single decision. So Charlotte Jacqueline gave us a really fascinating session all about influencer marketing, which is something that a lot of people ask questions about, they're not really sure about. But the key takeaway from that was really it's like creating a relationship. It's all about the right person. It's not about the numbers. It's about there being a genuine connection between you and the other person, and about the fact that, frankly, does their audience match your ideal customer? So if you don't really know who your ideal customer is, then it's going to make it much, much harder for you to find the right influencer or influencers for your business to help promote and get more visibility. It's also going to help you when you're trying to write the right kind of emails, pick the right pop-up locations, hit home with your social media marketing. All of these things, they all come back to knowing who your customer is. So if you're not really sure, then why not take a little bit of time before you put all of that effort into pushing your sales at Christmas, really reflecting back on who buys from you. If you've got data that you can look at in terms of your insights on social media, who's following you, but also who's actually been purchasing. Ask your customers some questions, put them on stories on Instagram. What ways can you basically reach out and try and understand a little bit more about your customer before you run into the full-on Christmas period? And then the final point that came up, again, this came up from lots of different sessions, but Iman Ishmael, who gave us an amazing in-depth look at email marketing at Christmas time, this was her key takeaway, was that we tend to think about Christmas as the run-up to the big day, but actually we should be thinking about our pre-Christmas email campaigns, our Christmas selling campaigns, and then our post-Christmas follow-up and nurture campaigns to make the most of the customers that we get at Christmas. And Charlotte Jacqueline had the immortal line, an influencer is for life, not just for Christmas as well. So again, it's thinking about, when we think about Christmas, it's very tempting to see the festive season as the deadline. It's very tempting to see it as everything that we've got to work towards, that we push, and then you can kind of collapse in a heap and take a well-earned break, which of course I hope that you will be doing. And I hope that you'll be getting some space for yourself at the end of a very long and busy stretch for you in your business. But it's just thinking about, what is Christmas really in terms of the longer term life cycle of your business? Well, Christmas is the time when you get the most eyeballs, because people are looking for products, they're looking to buy, they're looking to purchase gifts, everything that we've touched on. So it's your opportunity to create as good an impression as possible. So try thinking about Christmas not just as your peak selling period, but as your peak loyalty building period. So the time which you're most likely to be able to really engage with your customers, really surprise and delight them, and basically build that loyalty and those good feelings so that as you move into 2021, that you have even more engaged, warm customers who bought from you at Christmas. You went above and beyond, obviously, their expectations so that they were delighted with what they purchased. And then that means they're more likely to come back to you in the new year to buy from you again. So Christmas is, as I said, not just your biggest opportunity to sell, but it's your biggest opportunity to create warm, loyal, engaged customers who are going to come back and buy from you again. So it's going to set you up really, really well for 2021 if you have a strong Christmas. So there you go. Those are my key takeaways. There is so much more detail in there. And as I said, if you're a course member, then do go into the portal and make sure you can take a look at all of the replays. If you missed any of them, they were all absolutely fantastic. But there were definitely some key themes. And for me, one of my biggest takeaways was that I feel really optimistic about this year. I think it's been a really rough year for a lot of people, but I think in terms of Christmas, the customer is ready to buy. They have been preparing for longer. So whether that's trying to spread out the cost of Christmas over a longer period of time, but people are determined to have a good Christmas regardless of the year that they've had. So they are also looking for creative product businesses, independent brands, interesting products they've not seen before, or just beautiful things that have an amazing story that go behind them. The customer is looking for consciously created products that have got sustainability and ethics at the heart of what they do. They are looking to buy from businesses that share their beliefs and their ethics. And they want to know the stories. They want to know how the product is made. They want to know who made it. They want to know the journey it took from your mind or your piece of paper into reality. They want to see the behind the scenes footage. They want to understand what makes the materials you use so unique. They want to understand the inspiration that you had when you created their product, because all of these things really elevate the products that they're purchasing from you, and it helps them give something really special to the people that they care most about at Christmas. And who couldn't love that? So here are my key takeaways. Number 1, opportunities are out there. You just have to make them happen. Number 2, think about gifting. Make it really obvious to the customer what you're offering. And as I said, Janine's session on how to create the perfect gift was just absolutely brilliant. Number 3, people want your stories. Number 4, get visible. Don't be like the shopkeeper hiding behind the counter. So number 5, whatever you can do now, do it so that during the key selling times, you can be really, really focused on pushing those sales. Number 6, you never know who's watching your business. So always show up, put your best face on, and be prepared for good things to happen. Number 7, whatever your marketing plans are, double it. Number 8, know your customer. And number 9, Christmas selling doesn't just end at Christmas. I would love to know if you were somebody who came along to the summit. I'd love for you to send me a DM on Instagram. Tell me what your key takeaways were. Or if you're a club member, tell me what your key takeaways were from the replays. And if you're listening to this podcast and you didn't make it to the summit, tell me what your biggest thoughts are listening to the summary and what you're going to be doing for your business this Christmas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, do follow me on Instagram at Resilient Retail Club and tag me where you're listening. I'd love to see. Please also do take a moment if you can rate, review, and if you subscribe, you'll be the first to hear about new episodes as they are released. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretail.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, with a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretail.com.